Hello, everyone. I am going to start our Facebook Live time together, and it really is just time together. I have a few thoughts in mind that I like to share, just some things that have come up in my conversations with other folks. But in the beginning, I like to just give folks some time to come online. As you come on, feel free to make some comments. Tell us who's on. I got my first heart. That always feels like so good. Ellie's on. She's always good for a heart or two. If you don't know Ellie Steinbrink, she is the master behind all of our social media, um, all of the memes you see, all of the postings you see, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn. She's just top notch. But I'm giving all of you a bit of time to come on and as you wish to just start sharing with us, whether it's a status update, how things are going, a question, or I really like hearing from people their ahas, what they're noticing about themselves. Like, what's something, how have you gotten to know yourself better? Or how have you gotten to be more compassionate to yourself? Those types of things. So as people join us, and we're getting lots on today, so this is good. We've got 60 some on. So I got to see who's joining us. So Nicole from Loveland, Colorado, good to see you. Hi, Tiffany. It's I think Tiffany, you've been on quite a few of these. I appreciate you coming on. Olivia from NetJets, we always have to shout them out. In fact, I'm in Mexico. I noticed all my wardrobe in Mexico is kind of outrageous. It's not stuff I'd probably wear like out in my daily world in Omaha, Nebraska, but I noticed down here I get really colorful. But the Cabo airport supposedly is closed, so we might be calling NetJets to eventually come do a rescue mission here, Olivia. So we might have to get one of your pilots in. Ellie's husband's actually a pilot. We were just joking last night about maybe having him come rescue me. My sweet, dear friend, Sue Simmons, is on. She saved my life by moving across the street from me in middle school. And she's been through it all with me. Good to see Sue on. And Judy, thank you. I love all these compliments. I don't even like do my hair anymore, and you guys tell me I look great. You must be getting a little desperate for eye candy. Perfect. Margita's on too from NetJets, and Stacy. So many great people. Hi, Lori Piper. I don't mean to skip anybody. Don't anybody personalize any of these things. So Nicole says she's starting a new leadership position virtually. Wow. A lot of us are nervous when we start a new position, and then the excitement of doing that virtually is pretty cool. So some suggestions on how to get that started. Let's just start right in and put that up, Nicole. And it actually helps me, whether you're just starting a new position virtually, it helps me introduce stages of human needs during disruptive times. And when this whole pandemic started, and I'll get back to you starting virtually, I was just reminded of the framework that we were taught as counselors when somebody had gone through some sort of joint trauma, like maybe a tornado in their town, or sometimes with some domestic abuse situations. But there really is science out there. There really is studies out there that show these phases and what leaders need to do to build trust and get people in a position where they can lead them forward. And I think this will really help with you also, Nicole, as you're starting these positions. It is so important to um, reach out both individually and as a group to your teams, and you want to balance between being too restrictive as far as here's how I want to lead in my philosophy, but you want to give some non-negotiable kind of framework and then really check in with other people. So I would get really clear for yourself, not what your rules are, not any of that, not even call non-negotiables, But here's some things very important to you and that you value and how you work. And maybe it's just like three or four things that are important to you. And so if that were me and I'd be meeting a team member for the first time, I would tell them what's really important to me and what my mantras are is like love wins, that regardless of the work we do together, I want to keep people first, and I want us all to be very accountable for giving people space and have generous hearts and benefit of the doubt, and really being able to recognize we're all humans, and but for the grace of God, go I screw up. I want people to have the ability to be held and space to be held while they screw up and do the evolution part, reflect, make amends, grow, get better. And so that might be something I would share. And that I also share that my management style is really calling people up to greatness so they can get to know um, how much they're really capable of, because most people don't. And I might have like one other one. So start with who you are, and then really start with connecting and setting up a rhythm so that it's not one off, setting up a rhythm to listen and to inquire and to check in with people. And there's really 5 stages. Now, this is for all of you. Nicole's happened to start. But when you're working with people virtually, it is so easy to get really complacent. Like, join the meeting when you can. Don't bother about turning on the camera because we know we all are kind of just not doing our hair anymore. And no, 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 no. You need to keep some standards. You're not trying to introduce etiquette because we're very casual. Kids are going to come in and out if there's kids involved. Dogs are going to bark. Doors are going to ring. If, I may even leave the session if I hear the propane guy come by and honk his horn, and run down there and get propane, because we're managing a lot of things. So we don't need perfectionism or micromanaging, but we do need to be connecting in with people and have some new non-negotiables. I need to see your face. I need to connect in the following ways. If we set up working sessions that involve other people having made arrangements to get available, then we need to really honor those, whatever they are for your work. But here are the 5 stages, people, that people are going through. And the stages are important because as you come into this team in this uncertain kind of times, Nicole, you're going to find people in different stages. And so if people start to be like, well, gosh, you should come out of this pandemic better, and somebody else is like, I haven't slept in 4 nights and I still have dog barf on the carpet because I don't have any carpet cleaner. Like, it's not right or wrong or either or that somebody's more accountable or not, or somebody's succeeding. It's just that people are in different phases, and situational leadership is meeting people where they are and trying to get them secured in that phase or that stage so they can move in and answer the call to greatness to the next stage. And you might have different people in different places, and that's where mercy and tolerance and grace comes in. So stage number 1, some of you hit this the day we were all sent home, right? And that is just safety and the basic stage. Am I okay? And for some of us, we had greater reserves, or we had, savings, or we didn't have kids who came home and needed homeschooling. Like, we were all caught in different situations. I didn't struggle to get online virtually because I already live virtually. So the first stage, which is all about safety and basics, some people have immune compromised systems, got kids sent home, have aging parents in different countries, live more paycheck to paycheck. Like, some people, like, the first thing they did was like, oh my God, how do I even feed my family? And how do I keep working without childcare? And how do I don't have a printer, and every kindergartner assignment is printing things off. And some of us got hit hard with that. So the first thing you check in, Nicole, is, are you okay? Do you have what you need? And then advocate for people. Like, do they have a safe place? Are they, not that you get super personal, but are they in relationships that now they're quarantined together? Are things okay? Do they have food? Do they have money? Do they have a printer? Are they using a personal cell phone and that's increasing, maybe their bill? Like, you respect privacy, but make it really okay for people to ask for help, and check in when this all began, but keep checking in. Hi, Jill Weintraub from New York, and Don Snyder. I'm just noticing that. So that's the basic stage. Once people have kind of their safety met, and that can go kind of up and down. Then the next thing, so safety is letting people know, like, I got this. I got myself secured. I got my food figured out. I got some system figured out. We're going to be okay. Most people are self-reliant in that stage and they're muscling their way through. What you need to do as a leader to get people into the next stage is when they're muscling their way through and they're hunkered down and they're just trying to get their work done. Now you got to reach out for connection. You want people to know that they're not alone. In getting your needs met, the basic stuff, you're all about self-reliance and muscling through. That's not resilience. Resilience is all about connecting with people so that together we've got this. So you need to have avenues where you bring the team together, that you're having people share. When you're one-on-oneing with a couple of folks, give them the assignment. I want you and you to get together. Her internet's faster. She can download some data and maybe just email that to you. So start connecting people, connect with your people, but start connecting them and get them on assignments together, get them teaching each other. Say, you know what, that's something I don't understand, but who does, and how can you reach out? Then the third stage is temporary. It's make it work, get it done. And this is where we really felt like we found our groove. But that's when we thought we're going to be here for 2 weeks. And so the get it done stage is we were innovative. We kind of jimmy rigged things together. But what you'll realize after 2 weeks, it's just not a permanent, good, healthy solution. We still were just getting by. It got our basic needs met, it got our customer needs met, but it's not something that's going to last forever. So maybe you set up your home office at the kitchen table and you're moving things over every time you've got to feed folks, or you're surrounding yourself with paper and you have no boundaries between different areas of your life, or you suspended some daily habits or routines, or you're eating out, having delivery all the time, not really maybe cooking, and you're realizing that you just really can't eat that many carbs in a week, like whatever it is. Good job for making it happen. But the next stage is where we really get the good stuff going on. To make it happen, you have to radically simplify and just get it done. But the next stage is question everything. Does this add value? And as you add things back in, any piece of work, any report you generate, any thing you're doing, like with family or with your dogs, or like, does this get me the quality of life I want and the results I want? Get so picky once things have fallen by the wayside, get so picky about bringing things in. And this is really where you question everything with an eye towards the life and the workplace, like what you want to build. And that involves a lot of self-reflection, a lot of curiosity. And then the final stage is actively curate your life. And this is, for me, the stage I'm in right now, like seriously thinking, what do I want my company to look like after this? What do I want my life to look like after this? Like, do I want to just live in Mexico and Facebook Live with you guys for, ever? It's looking pretty good. But as you question everything and curate your life, this is where you need to bring commitments and habits and new habits. And you need to start getting some commitments to some routines and some disciplines that you bring back in. And it's a lot of commitment to self-reflection. So Nicole Long, you gave me the perfect segue into, I wanted to make sure and mention that. I've talked about it today, but connect with each of your people individually. Create space for, we're going to curate this together, but make sure people are safe, get your people connected, set up a rhythm for how you're going to be checking in, get to know people, like what are some of their basic needs right now, reward them for their innovation. How have they made it work? Like what has been their, like, incredible save the day victory, dive and catch, and make sure that those things are highlighted. And then open up the question, folks. Given this great opportunity, what have we learned? What works? What doesn't? And what do we want to create together going forward? So it's the perfect time to have that team together. So I got to see who all went in this here. So Sue says, during this time, I find myself growing more tolerant of people's safety choices. We all have different levels of comfort and less judging and more kindness. That's a cool thing to come out of our time together. You know, it's like intellectually we knew it, but I think a lot of us are getting it imprinted like on our heart because, you know, I even find it just in my little neighborhood here. Some people are just like, you know, even if you walk towards them, they're like 6 feet, 6 feet, 6 feet. It's like, thanks for the reminder instead of labeling them as paranoid. And I call it creating space. What if there just was space in our world for people to get their needs met and for all of us to be like just okay with how people get their needs met? And can we learn a lot about, you know, how this is impacting people from different economics and different lifestyles, and whether you're, you know, older or younger or what your age is, like, can we all just like lighten up, and not just lighten up, because sometimes when we live and let live, we abandon people. We're like, well, that's not how I do it, but I'm not going to get in your business. And then we leave them with no connection. How can we connect with kindness and room for all? I love that. Sue's like one of the most accepting people I know. She's loved me through some crazy stages. Um, oh, Ellison, I appreciate you as well. She says she appreciates me a lot. And Jill just needed to see my face. Good on you, Jill. Don, hello. Melissa, hello. Valerie, love wins, baby. Seeing if there's other questions here. Shelley from Maryland says hi. Self-study has been extremely important and helpful during this pandemic, and work with a teenager. I saw a meme, it was so funny. It said, like, just accept your teenagers, just see them as employees who work third shift while you're trying to work first shift. And I thought that was pretty awesome. People were leaving like video, video voicemail for their teenagers, like as you arise at 10 p.m. But you know, it's so easy to try and impose out of fear our standards on others instead of just sitting back and noticing, you know, is it good enough? Is it okay how they're kind of moving through the world? And one of the things that I was really reminded of, I was coaching someone who, when she gets scared, I was coaching her this week, she gets really like rigid, like for other people, and kind of judgy. And so I was having her do what we call a worksheet, which is to write down your judgment of another. And she was just very much like, my kids, she has two teenagers, aren't doing their homework. And her story was they're going to never graduate and they're going to fail and they're going to be juvenile delinquents. And and it was like, you know, your kids never do their homework. Is that true? Or I need my kids to graduate. Is that true? Can I possibly know that to be true? Like, not telling her what is right or wrong, but having her inquire on just, is there space in there? You know, if they don't graduate, do you know people who didn't graduate that have had fine lives? Or I need them to graduate on time. Is that true? Or they won't graduate if they don't do their homework. We were just like, is that true? Was our first inquiry. Can I possibly know what another needs in their life? Can I possibly predict the future? So that loosened the ego's grip. And then the second question for self reflection is, who am I when I believe that story? And she's like, oh my gosh, I become crazy mom. I'm like basically nagging people, creating hostility in our home, dishing on consequences to send them away from me, like when they're in their room too much anyway. And she sat with that, like meditated, who am I if I have this story? And this is the work of Byron Katie. And then the next question, just for self reflection, this is just a path of reflection. Write down all of your stuff on paper and take one belief. My kids must do their homework. Can I possibly know that to be true? Is it true? Who am I when I believe that? And notice. Just close your eyes and see yourself when you are so locked into that belief. How do you talk? How do you act? Who do you call and vent to? Like, how do you speak? How do you walk through a room? See yourself. And then a very loving question is, who would I be without that story? When my teenager walked into the room doing everything but their homework, but it's kind of funny and they're singing loudly, and who would I be when they walked into the room if I didn't have that story? Unbelievable. I would be mom enjoying child. I would be mom, wanting to remember this moment forever because they're going to be gone in 2 years. And then another place of inquiry is seeing if you can find as much truth in the opposite. This is trying to make the space bigger so that many things can be true. And what she was able to find, we call it the turnaround. She's like, he needs to do his homework. And a turnaround is, I need to do my homework. And I said, how is that true that you need to do your homework? Where are you not doing your homework? And she's like, oh my gosh, I have a whole list of things I'm procrastinating that I owe people at work, but I'm just not very settled. I'm not that productive. I'm like, huh. Because a lot of times, what we're so bossy to other people about, if we try to emphasize, the better thing to do is either take that advice for ourselves. If I think it's so important, I'll go first and do my homework, or meet ourselves with compassion. I find that my productivity kind of comes and goes, and I'm not getting everything done that I would like to get done. Wow. Can you give some compassion to your child? I mean, you're all they got right now in quarantine. Can you be a soft place to land? And not telling you what to do or not what to do, not to do. That's not the point of this inquiry. It is to get you conscious, to get this stuff visible to you out from behind the ego, to bypass the ego, so that you can curate your life for today. What type of mom do you want to be in the world to a kid who isn't completing all their homework with the same gusto you used to see them do? Like, how do you want to be? Because you can choose whatever you want. That's that tolerance for people getting through the world differently. But don't do it unconsciously. Don't do it because you're asleep. Do it from a wide awake position. And so much of this is like waking up and just noticing yourself and doing it from a wide awake position. And that's where Shelley comes in with this self study is going through this pandemic. A lot of people are like, use this as your time to learn another language. And if you are finding that that is fulfilling, then do that. But I don't think you need to reject who you are and find a way to change who you are if that's not your goal. But I don't want you to waste this experience by not noticing who you are and how you walk through the world, and um, with compassion for what you notice, that self study, meet it with love, self love, and then see how you can make your choices more intentional so that you can get closer to your authentic self and your most evolved self, so that as you move through the world, you're doing it as skillfully as possible from kind of a higher level of consciousness that is more fulfilling for you. It's a more, you're walking with integrity, knowing you'll screw this up only daily, but the more you can err on the side of that integrity for how you want to be in the world. Like, how many of you just feel great when you just rose to your highest self and you were able to be kind to somebody that maybe that wasn't your first inclination? Like, a lot of people feel they don't feel love from the world, and the quickest way to feel love from the world is to get loving towards the world. That which is missing is so many times that which we're not giving. And so I love this, that this self-study has been good for you. And loving up those teenagers, man. They show us what is left of our ego to work on. I'm going to just scan here and say, Valerie says, my teeth are fabulous. Thank you. The more tan I get, the more my teeth look good. My dentist is Dr. Witten in Omaha, Nebraska. She's closed down right now except for emergencies, but she's amazing. Um, Molly is learning that it's an adjustment to not have so much structure in her life, but also so liberating. And again, as you curate, Molly, just ask yourself, like, how much structure for me personally is needed and at what time and what's liberating. Um, I find a stress behavior I have is make a list and then just become a workhorse, like moving through the list and be a little rough on myself when I'm like, Sai, you got to focus, you got to stay productive. And I've noticed when I got rid of that structure, and I talked about this before, I just wrote down some things I would like to dedicate some attention to today because I think the quality of your life is really determined by where you're placing your attention. One of my yoga instructors, Paul Gould, says that all the time. The quality of your life is determined by where you put your attention, like what you're paying attention to, what you put your focus on. And even as I'm not productive, and if I can focus on self compassion, that increases the quality of my life. So I just do some dedications. And that way, as I move through my day, I am trying to notice more my energy. And when I'm in front of the screen and my energy is waning or I'm not being creative, I'm really allowing myself to kind of just look at these just blocks of things that I hope to give attention to because they're fulfilling, and sometimes fulfilling is just getting something done. And I just look at that as if it's like a cookie jar and I can just reach in and draw like next activity out of. So even if I have to leave something not completely done, I can look at the next thing. Like, now it might be fulfilling to get a quick walk, go down and just look at the water. And what I'm finding is for myself, how little I asked me what would be the best use of my current energy level, what I was called to do, what my creativity was feeling. I didn't ask me very often. In fact, I was almost kind of a violent taskmaster to myself. It didn't matter where my energy was or what I was feeling or where I was creative. If it was next on the list, I'm going to muscle my way through that thing and I'm going to overfunction. And and I have found during this pandemic that I'm a pretty good overfunctioner. I grew up in a family that, like, getting through your day with a lot of people taking jabs at you and teasing you, it was like a little obstacle course. So one of the things I'm really good at is stamina and like muscling through. And at this point in my life, I got to ask myself, like, is that fulfilling? And I've even kind of had such a violent approach to myself, like, you need to walk at 8 o'clock, 5 miles a day. And how often that set me up for rebellion where I'm just like, screw it. I did that the last 3 days. I'm not doing it. I have found that just listening to my natural instincts, that I'm walking 5 miles or more a day, but only when I'm like, I'm feeling kind of low energy. Maybe it's time to get outside. What's my body want to do? I think I'll go walk. And now all of a sudden, some of these things I've intended to do forever are coming pretty effortlessly. And a lot of the people I study, a lot of the teachers say that when you're in higher levels of consciousness, your natural instincts, your body will crave healthy foods, will lead you effortlessly into activity. That it's not something you have to be like a taskmaster on yourself. Like we want to be creative in the world. We want to be helpful in the world. Like who we are beyond ego is really wanting to be in some harmony and in source. And so I'm having the luxury of being able to play with that a little bit and just reporting what I'm learning. So I love that you're playing with how much structure and not enough structure. And then there's some days where Sarah, my chief of staff, says, "Okay, love that you're experimenting. You have these 5 videos to get done today." And I'm like, "Thanks for the simple instructions." Don't overthink this stuff. Byron Katie, a great teacher of mine, talks about just follow the simple instructions. Like I'm like, well, what would be a good schedule and what isn't that? But just get out of your head and just follow your simple instructions, your simple like instincts, like what you're called to do. And a lot of people feel scared because they don't trust themselves to really more follow their natural instincts. But I have found that, being very disciplined and committed to a meditation practice twice a day and being committed to like some healthy eating and I'm not very good at connecting with people, but being more connecting, being more vulnerable is coming more naturally when I'm doing a lot of that self reflection. They all kind of go together. So, oh, everybody, thank you. My birthday was fantastic. I'm here in Mexico alone and loved it. Hi, Don Wood. It's amazing to see you. I saw your high school picture, Don Wood. You were cracking me up. Everybody's putting their senior pictures out. But my birthday was fantastic. My team surprised me with a Zoom call. And gosh, it was a wonderful, wonderful day. I got a lot of creative work done too. Tiffany, this is a great one. I think people really relate. Tiffany says that she's noticed that she's stir crazy. She travels 70 to 80%. I went from like heavy travel to, so being at home is feeling crazy. Sometimes I think the universe gives us, we got really comfortable doing this. And so it's like, sit here and listen to your own mind for a while. Like, because if we're used to really high activity, um, sometimes just for me, I don't know if this is for you, Tiffany, like my busyness was a way not to check in with myself and a way um, to numb out some things I was a little scared to listen to. I've had a lot of grieving and a lot of eye-opening things for me, but let's see what she said. I'm noticing and learning that my time at home is needed, necessary, and eye-opening. I'm walking daily to self reflect and learn more about what I'm in need of working on in myself. What I'm loving about you guys is just your willingness. You guys don't have to do anything but work on your willingness. Like there was one time I needed to really forgive somebody, and I went to um, a counselor who's pretty spiritual as well. And I'm like, I'm not going to forgive this person. And she kept doing this thing. Well, it's not really forgetting, and you don't have to approve of what they did, but forgiveness is like having poison and drinking it to hurt them if you don't forgive. And she used all of her techniques, and then I'm just like, it not even there. And she's like, okay, well, try praying for this person every day for 30 days that they have everything that you want in their life. So everything you've ever desired, pray for it, but pray for them to get it. And I'm like, yeah, that I'm so mad at this person. That's not happening. And so she backed it all the way up to just pray for the willingness, just pray to be willing to pray for this person. I'm like, oh, we have to start. I'm praying for now willingness. And what I'm finding, once people get out of the safety stage where their basic needs are met, and by the way, let's not forget, if you have more and you can help, there's a lot of people who are not out of the safety space. Their needs aren't met. They are hungry. They don't have food. They have lost loved ones. They are scared. They don't know how they're going to pay their bills. Like, I don't want us, as we're talking about self reflection, to lose sight of that not everybody's out of that first stage. And we need to, if we can, have impact and give in whatever way we can to help that. But as we're getting here, a lot of us just need to be willing to, Martha Beck calls it basically train yourself how you would train a dog. Come, sit, stay. Like with your dog, you're like, come, and then sit, and then stay. Those are the basic things you want to train a dog in. But she did this wonderful column one time, and Martha Beck's stuff is fantastic. If you're not plugged into her stuff, Byron Katie is thework.com if you're not plugged into her stuff. But come, sit, stay is what you're reminding me of, Tiffany, because I travel too. And it is so easy to get our ego needs met of being a machine. Like I get up at 5 in the morning, I present all day, I write books at night. I've been in 3 different cities in 3 different days. I fly, I overcome flight issues. I get to my hotel room at midnight. I am impacting the world. And I found that part of me out there impacting the world made darn sure that the world wasn't impacting me, that some of those things trying to get to me and open my heart up or open my mind up or just have me get in touch with what parts of my life I wasn't living in integrity with, what parts of my life I lacked courage in, or I wasn't taking time to get clear so I could ask for what I needed, or I was allowing things that, I was keeping peace with others and creating war within myself. But as long as I could get on a plane and have a Chardonnay, tomorrow's another day. The willingness, you guys, to just sit and be with what I call the monkey minds, just to notice what's going on up there and who you are and what part of your life feeds you. That's the incredible part. And noticing the fear, like I'm always like, I can't just stop the world for 3 months and, go take a sabbatical to write a book. Well, I guess I can, because how do I know? I'm doing that. Now, I didn't have the courage to choose it, but it's like, well, business has stopped and we're not going to have, that revenue coming in. What can you do in this? It's like we're capable of so much more than we need. And so I just love that you're walking daily and self reflecting. Kelly Thompson, who used to work on our team, who's doing her own coaching, really great for you to follow her. She talks about walking and walking meditation and how important that is. One of the things I would suggest for some of you that I have led at times, it's called hiking as a metaphor. And I would ask people to pick a question that's heavy on their heart that they don't yet know the answer to. So, an example I give when I was doing this is one of my sons was going through a really difficult time. He was in high school. He was skipping school a lot. He was smoking pot. He was struggling. And I was getting a lot of advice like tough love, kick him out on the streets, cut him off from money. And I'm an addictions counselor by background. I'm like, I know. And that didn't feel right because it was confusing. And he had like anxiety and some trauma in there. And then, there were other instincts I had to, just love him through and probably be enabling. That was the spectrum. And I just had a question in my mind, like, what would be the best approach as a mother for right now with my son? So I asked people, what question's heavy on your heart? Or what's a question you're grappling with maybe about your life in the new, not normal? Pick a question. And as you said on your walk, hopefully with some nature around, look for anything that catches your eye or calls to your heart. And just notice how it gets you in tune with noticing like the wind in the trees and the sound of the birds and how the sun comes through and that flower. Just notice. And as you're moving through, if you feel called to something, actually, have a seat or take a moment to like just let it come to you. And it's a way to bypass your ego, to use some things as a metaphor to reflect back to you your inner knowing, but maybe you can't hear it because you're thinking it. So as I'm going on this hike, this happened to be in Mexico, I saw a flower I'd never seen before, and I sat down by this flower, and it was a crazy flower. The flower itself was so delicate. It was like it looked like a columbine, but I mean, it was so intricate and so delicate. But the stem was like square and almost woody. I'd never seen anything like it. It was like a tough mint. For those of you that are gardeners, like a stem of mint, but it was such a weird. It looked like somebody took a flower and glued it onto a stem. I'd never seen that. I've never seen it since. And I sat down beside that, and I'm like, okay, what message can I get from this? And it just hit me like, where's the and? How can I be very strong and stern, with some non negotiables, and lay out what consequences there are if you make these choices. How can I put a structure in place that this is our contract in order to live here? This is what it is. And once that's there, it's not me always discipline. It's like this, you knew ahead of time, like, let's just consult the paper on the fridge. You're a half hour late. This is your consequence. Like, I had to be strict so that the rest of me, as I watched him suffer consequences and I watched him, find an alternative program to graduate, as I watched all of that, I could just be open hearted, loving. I didn't have to be the disciplinarian. I had that taken care of. And then I could just be his biggest ally. But instead of, you did this and now I must punish you, I was able to be like, wow, there's times in my life where I have made similar choices and it stinks. And I could be there in empathy without enabling, and I could be detached but not abandoning. All of that from a hike and finding an odd flower. So I bring that up because it might be something you want to do this week. I'm going to go back to the bottom. I'm going to miss some of you. I always hate that. I read the comments afterwards. I'm like, oh, they were on, and so good. Kelly's page is up there, and she's great to follow on Instagram. Solutions present themselves when you are still. Oh, that's so beautiful, Melissa. I'm going to just turn it over to you guys teaching this stuff. Solutions present themselves when you are still. I heard that from somewhere. This reminds me of what's being shared. And you guys, I believe that whatever your religious beliefs are, like our authentic self, the part of us that is the one observing the thinking, not the one doing the ego thinking, but the one, the stillness in you is like the manifestation of source, spirit, God. Like it is there anytime. And whenever you're connected to concrete form thinking stressed, if you can just breathe into, I'm going to get back in my body, you'll just feel the energy. You'll get in touch with the stillness, and I call it the silence behind the silence. So when you sit, listen to the quiet, find the quiet, and then find the silence behind that quiet. And that is the part of you that you're not doing the thinking. It's like you're being thought. And it's out of that stillness that you can't force it. But if you show up for stillness every day, if that um, power knows like you're there and you have this portal open, like it really, that knowing comes to you, or the tears come, or stillness. Another meditation I do a lot is I take a sentence. And this is a Buddhist tradition, but what's funny is a lot of the things I use, I think, are probably Bible verses. But so the sentence I take is another way I get still is, so the sentence I love is, be still and know that I am God. Okay. So be still and know I'm God. That's a pretty big intellectual competency, or, it's complex and I can know it intellectually. So I just sit and I put a period and I just keep moving the period. So I go, first word, be. So I just do that for a while. And then it's like, I move the period, be still, do that for a while. Be still and know, like I just moved the period, or be still and then like, what's the mystery? Be still and know, be still and know, that I am. And I just keep moving the period where it's like, it can get down to be still, or it can get down to I am, or I am God, or, just God. It's incredible what comes to you when you're just wanting to get still and then occupy your mind with something that helps with mental flexibility, and that creates space. If you can create movement, it creates space for you to discover some things. So stillness seems to be our thing today. Dawn Snyder, my naturalist, she runs a nature center, a good friend of mine. Miss our hikes, would love to see that flower too. We had a lot of hikes. Back in the day when our babies were little, we would put babies in strollers and hike 5 miles up and down hills, um, urban hikes, I guess, because they were on concrete. What else do you guys have here? Yeah, my shirt pattern is skulls. I got this actually in the States at Walmart one day for Day of the Dead. Okay, Amanda asked a great question. How does one afford a personal coach? And is that the answer to feeling lost in what you were doing and what you thought was your calling? Um, so everything I talk to you about, including a personal coach, they don't have the answers, but they point you in the direction. So whether it's a Bible verse or a preacher you hear online, or it is a TED talk, or it is a book you read, those things point you in the direction. And what personal coaches do when you hire them is they um, facilitate your own self reflection. So you can do it yourself, you can do it as part of a group, and you can do it as part of getting group coached. And in fact, some of what you're doing right now for free is getting some coaching. Coaches give you some techniques to try to just get to be a better listener and more in touch, and to be more open to the resources and the answers. And so there are times I hire coaches for myself, right? There are times that we learn to coach each other. Like if you go to the work.com, Byron Katie gives you 4 questions and a turnaround, a worksheet, a technique, all kinds of videos. And all you need to do to coach another person is to just read questions off a piece of paper. You can do it for yourself. So I don't want people to think like that anyone or any guru or any teacher has the answer. I always say, don't take my word for this stuff. I'm just throwing stuff out there. Try it on for yourself, figure out what works for you. But if you're a seeker right now, Amanda, the time's never been better for things to be online. And I think that even you can curate your Instagram feed to be coached on a regular basis. Like I have found just some amazing people to follow. So I'm going to throw some out there. One of my favorites is right now it's about relationships and healthy relationships. It's just hashtag healthy relationships. Another one of my favorites is creating love. It's a really cool connections relationship coach out there. Danielle Laporte is amazing, and she sends you a daily kind of cool message. There's podcasts out there. There's depending on the topic, I'm glad that you brought this up because one, I think a personal coach is the best investment you could ever make. And there's so many coaches out there, many of which are willing to do some things on a sliding scale fee. Most of us are pretty, like-minded and give some of this away. But it's contained. Signed up for 6 sessions. You set a goal. They lead you through some things to get there. There's also a lot of group coaching going on right now. Martha Beck has some things you can sign up to just be part of a group. So go out there and look. And once you kind of get on the hunt and see if you find somebody that you like, just see who's like them and bring those up. Personal coaching, it's not the easy route to like, I'm gotta figure my life out. It is the easy route to get more clear about listening to yourself, because if you just tune into what builds my energy and what depletes my energy, if you just walk with that one assignment for the week, let me notice what I dread, what I procrastinate, what zaps my energy, let me notice what builds my energy, and then look at that, and is there a clue in there for me? One of the people I had on my podcast, No Ego, she is an expert in quitting things. She's went to med school, became a doctor, quit that. She went to law school, seriously finished it, quit that. Nobody was like paying her way. Like she paid off her own debt. Like she was like a graphic designer, quit that. Like she's like, one of the things that she really learned from all of that is to make a list of like, um, what do I never want to have to do again? Like, what do I hate? Like, What am I glad to do again? And what am I good at? And just by making these three lists and curating those lists, it suddenly became really clear to her that the business she needed to start was to be a speaker on how to quit your way better. And like, you wouldn't think of that as your profession in the beginning, but if you do the self reflection and you start to see those clues and you're willing to not overthink it, you might be surprised how obvious it comes out. So for me, lately, so I started my life doing absolutely what I loved: one on one therapy and group therapy. I loved it. And I loved lecturing during my community time when we were moving people into treatment experiences. One of us would do a lecture every day. I loved that. When I look at the things I loved, I've kind of built a life around those. But as I look at like what's next for me, because I love my business research, I love the work I've done on engagement, and at the same time, it's like I don't know that I want to be focus on the workplace, because what's really calling me is to focus more individually, not personal one-on-one coaching, but coming to you and things like this where we can form like an inner circle where people have some membership and things where we can be bringing out content in ways that you feel personally coached one-on-one along the way, and not just work related. I'm finding myself, like, when I pay attention to what brings me energy, getting back to my roots. Like, I love coming to you guys on Facebook Live, and I want to find ways to be more interactive and better at that. And the trauma we've gone through has really helped me remember some of those things about how to help people evolve individually as human beings. And so I'm thinking, workplace, yep. What about world place? And I'm interested in how we economic develop small businesses and women's small businesses, and especially, compromised populations in third world countries. And I also love to travel. And I don't know, it's gelling up there. Amanda, good luck with that. Keep coming back, and we'll try and keep giving you some resources. But my answer to that is, how do you afford personal coaching? I've paid a lot for coaching because I've had some resources, and I've paid nothing for coaching. And by the way, everybody who's getting certified um, usually has to do, like, they have to coach like 5 people through 6 sessions, and sometimes be videotaped and stuff to be coached through. So be out there looking for who's getting certified, and just put that call up on Facebook and Instagram. Anybody getting certified that wants to, I'm willing to be the guinea pig, I'm willing to get coached, might be a way to do that as well. Or bartering. I've um, given free talks at people's small businesses, and they've coached me. Like, there's all kinds of ways to get creative. Natalie is saying that she's on the board for a not-for-profit. These are tough ones, you guys. Um, she says that she feels helpless during this time. What are some suggestions on things I can do to be supportive to the nonprofit during this time? So, if you're feeling helpless, you are almost by definition focusing on big stuff. Your perspective is too wide. You are worried about everyone, and you're worried about the next 5 years, and you're worried about every not for profit and every family you could have served. And when you feel helpless and you aren't having impact on the world, it's actually what happens with the ego is the ego likes to see impossibilities, so it can get you disengaging and feeling helpless and victimy. And when you toggle down, the ego doesn't see any place it can plug and play. And its view is really limited because it's really black or white. It's like, well, we don't have money to do hardly anything, so there's nothing we can do. Or it is our way of getting into a state of helplessness where we just kind of disengage. And then we get into behaviors like fretting and worrying, and we start to kind of self-abuse ourselves. Like, we worry if our whole philosophy on life was just a sham, and if we were an idiot to believe we could help, and we start questioning like our whole life. I mean, all these ways where we just are trying to come to the conclusion, like, I'm not enough, I'm not good enough. And it gets right down into our self worth. And then it feels horrible. And we start doing things like overeating and drinking. And that's the spiral. One of the solutions to this is to acknowledge what you're feeling. Right now, I'm not seeing a clear way to have direct impact. I'm feeling helpless, and get out of the big and do what I call come close in. And there's always something you can do to help. There's always something you can do to have impact. Even if one of the not for profits I'm serving on, even if like what I'm doing to have impact is helping them put closure and document and wrap things up while they basically close the doors. Our impact is that we're going to make it easy as possible to restart. So it's a flip of the switch and not recreating. And like you really have to come close in if you want to find your place for impact. So you move out of ego into self reflection. You're like, I won't entertain the fact that I am helpless. I'm going to name it a feeling. I feel helpless. That's because I have a big heart and I really want to take suffering away from people. So it's a feeling, not a thinking. And so, given that I feel helpless, let's see where I could have impact in the world. What is one small place to start? What's one thing I could do today that would have impact? What's one way I could work through others to have impact? What's one way I might get a little bit bigger and have this have a wider influence? Like, how can I make that happen? And do what's in front of you with an eye towards action and impact. The results, the did you save the world or not? That is none of your business. Your business is I am going to put this energy, effort, focus, and attention into the world. And I am going to believe that the universe or God or whatever is out there will pick up my small piece and knit this thing together and create bigger solutions. But I can come with an open heart, an open mind, and willingness that when that feeling of helplessness sets in, I want you to transform that like an alchemist would transform what's happening. The feeling of helpless, I want you to transform it into something that is just a call to action. Like if I'm feeling helpless, it's a feeling, and I want to go, oh, that's something kind of tickling my senses to say, sit down and focus for a few minutes on impact you could have next, even if it's just like, can I reach out, and call somebody, or it can be so small, but the it's not your business the ultimate impact it has in the world, because like a butterfly's wings moving at the equator can start an entire storm, days later, miles away. When I publish a book, if I want to really get crazy in my head, I can start to be responsible for how you all use the information. Oh, I hope it helps. And I hope they don't use it for evil. And I hope people like it. And I hope that, I didn't claim some of these ideas my own. Like the only way I can bring you any of this, where I take the risk to get vulnerable, I'm kind of an introvert and shy, is I just make a deal with God that I'm going to put out there what I'm called to do today. And it won't solve all the work problems of the world. It won't solve even a lot of what we got going on. Some of you have loved ones who have died. But it won't stop me from putting it out there. And then after I release it, what the world does with it is like the world's business, God's business, not my business. My business is if I'm feeling helpless, I can translate that into a nudge to say, I don't like feeling helpless. I'm not helpless. I'm going to transform that into having impact in some way right now. And I'm going to move to action. And I'm going to then put that love out in the world. And I'm going to just trust that the powers that be will pick up on all of our love notes that we sent the world today and will somehow knit it together. So in Mexico, a lot of people live on a cash basis. They get paid daily, and then they go buy food for that day. And if I look at all of the poverty and no running water, it's like I can't possibly like impact that. I don't have enough money. But when I'm feeling helpless, I can just make sure that whoever walks by my house, whoever's led to walk by my place has something up to and including, like, a lot of times when you go into a store in Mexico, they sell dog food in a daily package. Like they take a big thing of dog food and they just put it in a little Ziploc, and you can buy it for a few pesos. So people feed their dogs or their horses like they feed themselves on a daily basis. And it's an economy that works for them. And so the last owners of my house had dog food. And so I just thought, I'm just going to put this in a bunch of Ziploc bags and put it out. And I put it out, and in 2 days, like, it was all completely gone. Now, do I think I saved, a bunch of animals here? No, but I did what I could do so that an owner doesn't have to feel bad about their dog not getting what they need. So I'm like, let's do that. And your ego will get you into comparison. Like, I'm not doing enough and it didn't have impact on the world and there's still suffering on the world. That is your ego's trick to get you feeling helpless and to get you to inaction. And so I guess that's what I'm saying is, Natalie, you're good hearted. Um, let's move forward. And the rest of it is up to the universe. We don't know what we're doing today, how that will happen sometime in the future, or how our not for profits will be recreated, or how, maybe the way we vote in the next election will make um, our people in our nation a lot less reliant on, some of these not for profits that fill in the holes, or maybe we can do better in other ways. It is time. I'm over time. If you're enjoying this, we'll be back next week. Watch for it. We record this and cut it up, put it in little pieces. If you're not following us on Instagram or the podcast, put it out there. We would like to reach as many as possible. And one thing you can do for me as a thank you for trying to give to you is really make it a point to share this as widely as possible. Because we would like to reach people who haven't heard of us through the workplace. I'd like to reach a lot of individuals. So do all the good you can for as long as you can, and it won't be wasted. No amount of good is ever wasted. And I love you guys. Hang in there. Take care of each other. Really look for people who need you today. Bye.